Hey guys, welcome to another live stream. We'd like to thank everybody that participated last week with the questions and answers, as well as a quick reminder that we're going to be doing Q&As every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, as well as offering premium services. So you can do subscriptions with Hawkeye Rides and you'll get this service plus videos before they're out and other cool things that we're going to be going through on the channel. So I'm Anthony.
I'm Isa.
And we're going to dive in as we start the live stream today. And I guess we could wait to see what some of the people are going to start asking for questions. Where do you want to start?
So what are your thoughts on the new G90?
I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I feel it's a little overhated over its weight, but it actually keeps the heritage of the V8.
Yeah, I think BMW does a good job with making sure that they keep a twin turbo V8. This week we did get to go to Genesis. We have a new Genesis dealership, so we did the GV80 Coupe with the e-Supercharge. Thing has over 400 horsepower. It was quite crazy, but the price is a little expensive. We also did the new G80, which got a refresh for the front and the interior with the steering wheel dashboard technology. We also went to Hyundai and did the updated Santa Cruz this week, which we're going to be bringing those to the channel. Can you do a Highlander Platinum? For the Highlander, I'm going to be going to Toyota this week, so we will put that on the list to see. Hopefully they'll have the Platinum. If not, then I'll do whatever is the trim that they have available, and I'll obviously explain the specs. Just sometimes with the recalls with Toyota, it's been a little bit interesting getting some of their vehicles. And also with Honda, we just went last week. We got several of the new hybrids, but they also have some recalls on fuel pumps. So that was kind of interesting trying to get some of the vehicles because they only had they had like 700-800 vehicles, but almost all of them were stop sale because of the recalls.
So what are your thoughts on the Genesis GV90?
I thought the GV90 was nice. You mean the G90?
Oh yeah, G90.
Yeah. So the G90, I thought it's nice. It's definitely well appointed. I mean, if you're considering an S class, this is like a discounted S class with a lot of features. But they've really increased the price quite a bit. I was really happy to get this dealership because it's one of the first dealerships in the area that is a full Genesis dealership, not connected to Hyundai or any other dealership that they work with. It literally looked like a Land Rover dealership when I walked in. I was kind of shocked, which I throw a few clips of the dealership on a couple of the videos. What vehicles did you get researching this week, Isa?
Just really the F80, and then that's really it. Nothing really new that happened that was crazy. But I did hear that they made a GT3 RS redesign.
Okay. Can Honda version of the Pilot? Right now, there isn't anything in the works, but I'm sure that's going to be coming down the pipeline because Honda, with the Pilot, it's the only naturally aspirated V6. So I'm assuming very soon they're going to be offering a hybrid variant. One thing that I have noticed with Honda is when they're introducing their new hybrids, they like to just do it with every single trim, and unfortunately they just kind of skip the Pilot. The same thing when it goes into Acura. They're not really changing anything there yet except for their infotainment screens and giving where it's touchscreen capabilities for like the MDX. But I kind of like that they still have a V6, but I'm with you as well. I mean, the gas consumption, it's something that needs to be taken in consideration. I feel the same thing with Nissan. They're kind of doing the same. They'll throw in a turbocharged 4, but then they're forgetting about doing hybrids. So hopefully the brands will move forward. The Grand Highlander, I feel hopefully they get their recalls and everything back in order so they can start selling them again, as that is a very popular variant. But it's sad to say that, they just opened them for sale and they have such a large recall. I mean, every single vehicle is starting to go through some problems with Toyota. It's still a great brand, and I like that they're working to fix the problem, similar to Honda, where they're starting to have recalls as well. So the good thing about it is if you are purchasing the vehicle, you're not going to be able to drive it off the lot at the moment because they are doing the recalls, so that way you don't take them home and then have to come back to the dealership to get them fixed.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
You were with me with some of the Acura reviews. How do you feel Acura is going with their performance and their technology?
I feel the technology was outdated. When I went in the MDX, I feel the fact that they didn't have touchscreen.
They do now.
Yeah, I know, but when we reviewed it, which was like
a few months ago.
Yeah, it didn't have any technology that was like crazy. You had to use a dial on the old one. It's a good thing they did on the new one. It still took a long time for them to actually start implementing technology that's been in cars for years.
One thing that I'm kind of going against is all the vehicles now are doing these large screens. Some of them are okay. So like with Genesis, it's not so like tall. It's very wide because it's a 27-inch OLED touchscreen with the gauge cluster connected to it. But it just so much with this technology to the point where we're forgetting to add components for suspension, upgrading the engine components, upgrading the interior, adding a lot more plastic materials. One thing that I will applaud with Genesis is now I'm starting to see carbon fiber when you go into the coupe for the GV80. I thought that was really cool. But then in the pricing, I mean, $80,000, $90,000, you're at an SQ8 money basically at base, which ultimately has a lot more performance because it's more or less a detuned ×2 Lamborghini Urus engine with 500 horsepower.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the Lamborghini Urus?
I feel that it's probably better you would buy the RSQ8. It's more of a deal because it's more or less the same engine. I think you're losing around 60-ish horsepower and maybe a tenth of a second in the 0 to 60. Your Maserati. Oh yeah, I remember whenever I was at Volkswagen in Newport Richie, I stopped by. I was reviewing vehicles and we chatted for quite a while, and I let you rev up the Maserati and sit inside it. I obviously own a Maserati, and we're all about performance vehicles. One of the things that I was also showing was that particular, when you get into exotic vehicles, you'll start seeing that they're more round instead of square, and aerodynamics is a key factor, but it's also components making it where the weight distribution is perfect, where the vehicle itself is lower to the ground, as well as giving a lot of performance out of something that's not going to be overweight. That's why with like the new BMW M5, it's going to be fun whenever we get our hands on it because now it's a plug-in hybrid, which adds around 900 pounds or so just for the battery. So kind of excited to see how that one's going to play.
Very, very interesting. Interesting indeed.
Yeah.
Mr. Hawkeye rides. So what do you think about a lot of the newer cars that are finally getting redesigned?
Most of the redesigns now are just aesthetics. So more of mild refreshes, which is all right because some of the styling needed to be updated. But I would also like to see some more hybrid variants coming into the pipeline, especially for like economical vehicles. As for luxury vehicles, I would like to see some performance added to it instead of them just adding words to the sorry, my dog is all over me. I'll show you. We have 2 chow chows. She just keeps wanting me to pet her. So I don't know if you guys are dog lovers, but that's why I keep going down, because she keeps petting me and taking my control. But going back, ultimately with the refresh, they do need to start doing things where they're making it a little bit easier and start looking for different sources instead of batteries, because I just don't feel like EVs and plug-in hybrids Plug-in hybrids are okay in hybrids, but for longevity purposes, those batteries are very expensive, and it's not something that's going to be like a classic, especially if you start going into like an exotic vehicle and you're getting a hybrid. I mean, when are you going to see something like that, especially if you have to spend $20,000 to $50,000 for a battery, being something that's going to be a classic vehicle?
So, what are your thoughts on Lucid?
I like Lucid. I feel that it's a great vehicle to compete with Tesla. I'm just not a EV guy personally. I would go hybrid and maybe plug-in hybrid, but even when we did the XM last week, I just, like I was showing you, it goes from no engine to a huge roar, and I'm not really into those type of vehicles. I would like to hear the exhaust note filtering in throughout the whole ride of the vehicle.
So, what dealerships you going to next week?
Next week, we're going to be going to Porsche, BMW, Mini, and Toyota is what we have the sights set on. Hopefully, we will get the new EV for the Macan, which that's one thing I kind of wish that they still had the gas variant with it. Um, they supposedly have some new 911s, so hopefully they'll still have them, as well as the new Cayenne. And for BMW, we're hoping the M5 will trickle into the pipeline. We're still waiting. I haven't got any news for that. Funny enough, every time I go, I always get surprised because whenever I check, we have key access to go to the dealerships. And when I'm looking to log in, I'm like, oh, they have this car. And then when I go there, the car is not there. So that's why sometimes with more of the performance vehicles, luxury, or even to the exotic, it's hard to really tell when they're going to be on the lot. Even though I have access to the keys, they sometimes don't put them in the key box. So then when you go there, you see it, you pull the VIN number to get the keys.
So, what do you think about like Porsche going hybrid on a lot of their vehicles? You think that's a bad like future for them? Or?
I think that with every vehicle that's going all hybrid, it's just kind of like a pause to figure out what's the next step to make it more efficient. Instead of them doing the research that they should have done years ago, they just kept coming out with bigger vehicles or bigger engines, in which now the problem that they're facing is they have to get the MPGs to a certain number, and it goes across all their brands as well as all their trims. So that's why you're losing vehicles, because they can't get the emissions to those numbers. So it's sad that you drop the engine variant altogether, but then in the same aspect, you're coming out with 15 different brands of the same vehicle, just different badging and maybe 5 or 10 plus or minus horsepower. It doesn't make sense. That's why, like I said, the best thing would have been that they actually engineer, kind of like Nissan did with the VC turbocharged engine. I'm not a huge fan of it because it does build up shrapnel in some of the early gens of that engine, but they spent 15, 20 years to actually figure out how to make a vehicle have that, where they added an extra pulley, so it will literally drive like a V6, or if you drive it soft, it'll be like a turbo diesel getting better efficiency. That type of technology is really what we need to start looking into. I'm not saying add another pulley, but I'm saying we shouldn't keep relying on these batteries, because ultimately it's also a fossil fuel that we're not going to be able to get the resource for, especially considering that they die within 100, 150,000 miles, which a normal vehicle can go to 300,000 miles on a normal, with normal maintenance.
So, you like Civic or the Integra better? And overall, like MSRP?
I used to like the Integra better, but now that they're doing basically a full CVT, I'm more towards the Civic, because I feel like you're getting a better deal and you can option a sedan or a hatch on that. Whereas when you go into the Integra, you can only go one way.
You like Honda overall better than Acura?
Some Acuras I like better because the interior, you're going to get more luxury. I like that they give you a more sporty interior, but they keep the same styling through all of their vehicles, which I feel can be a con, because If you're looking at other performance vehicles, yes, like going into Mercedes, BMW, and Audi, which in some cases it may not compete against Acura, but you have a lot of different trims that you can make it, even though you're going into a sport variant into it. Whereas when you go into Acura, there's only really one trim interior for the A-Spec. Whereas when you go into Honda, it's kind of the same thing, but at the price of a Type S MDX being in the $80,000 price, it would be nice that they did a few changes to make it where you have different choices in the interior.
So what are your thoughts on the QX80?
I like the new QX80. We added a new review up. Pricing is crazy because it's over 6 figures. The twin turbo V6 engine has a lot of power, and it's exactly what they needed to do, but did they do it too late? Drop a comment either here or after the live stream, and we can also talk about that. Another thing that I would also like to point is going forward with the live streams, we are looking to adjust the time. So any suggestions, just put them in the comments either now for the live stream or afterwards, so that way we can make it where everybody in the community can be a part of it. Sorry, my dog again. Come on, go. Over.
So would you rather have an MDX or would you rather have a Nissan Pathfinder?
I would go MDX.
Really?
Yeah.
Or the Pathfinder?
Well, the MDX is Acura, Nissan, so you get the luxury.
Yeah, but the Pathfinder has a lot more tech, doesn't it? Compared to the MDX?
Yeah.
And it's also cheaper.
Yeah.
So why would you want to get a more expensive car that has like more outdated tech, and you can get in a Pathfinder with cheaper MSRP and better technology?
The MDX would be better with the technology because it's the luxury line.
A lot of it, came out just recently. So, having more technology should be something that Acura should have added a while ago.
Yeah. But we're going to wrap up today's live stream, and like I said before, drop a comment of a timing that everybody in the community feels will be a good time to start with the live stream, as well as keep posted for the subscription for Hawkeye Rides, where we will be doing the live stream exclusively through that, as well as giving access to videos before they are released. Thank you guys for watching, and enjoy your rest of your day.